Okay, everyone. This is the second in my series of online dates from hell. And because my channel is called Life Lessons Learned, you'll see the lessons that I was learning from each of those dates and applying it to my next date so I don't make the same mistake over and over again or errors. Anyway, if you haven't seen that first one, you'll want to take a look at that. And I'll just recap it in three sentences here. So, that person I had talked to for about, I want to say 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. And when we agreed to meet, I met with him at a restaurant, and it turns out the guy was 73 after he had told me he was 53. Everyone here knows there's a big difference between 53 and 73. So, one of my key takeaways from that date was okay, my next one, I'll have FaceTimed them or video chatted with them, and that way he can see me and I'd be able to see him. So, I thought, that's a really good idea, which of course it is. So my next date, we must have talked for about 4 to 5 weeks, just a little over a month. As you know, as I've said in the first video, I'm very cautious when it comes to online dating and meeting people and all of that. So one of my rules, of course, if you haven't seen that first video, is to meet people not just in a public place, but in a public place that actually has people in it, so that I'm not, oh, we met in a public place, and then finding out, he's done something and no one's seen seen anything. But so that's what I always do. I usually meet them, at a restaurant. And if you saw that first video, you'll know that sometimes I have my friends go to the restaurant ahead of time, and they're sitting at a different table, of course, but that way they're able to see who I'm meeting, what that person looks like. They can sneak out into the parking lot and get pictures of his car and pictures of the license plate. I mean, what can I say? Especially with the way things are today. But anyway, I digress. So this gentleman that I met, of course, we were FaceTiming, and it's like it is that you guys can see. He's seated, I'm seated. We can see each other and converse and get into conversation and all of that. So that was really cool. Um, really liked his conversation. He was a funny person. We had nice banter, always had things in common that we could talk about. And as you can imagine, with online dating, sometimes the people live in, they're not close to you. So he and I lived one state away from each other. But obviously, that was okay for me. And of course, it was okay for him. My thought was that I would either go to his state, not stay with him, but at least visit with him, get to see him and meet him and talk with him and see how we clicked. Or he could come to my state, not stay with me, but give us the same opportunity to do that. So we both agreed that would be something that we could do. Well, he decided that, I live in a beautiful state and it has lots of tourism and lots of things to do. And I mean, he does too. His state is very beautiful as well. But he said he would like to come here for the weekend, and that way he and I could spend Friday and Saturday together, and that way he can do some touring in between and all of that. So I thought that was a great idea. Now, as we got closer to the date and time that he was to come visit with me, seemed a bit, I don't know, hesitant or reluctant to talk about the actual date and time and where we would meet, which, of course, that's a red flag. And that's one thing I want to say to anyone that's watching this video. Whenever you are starting to get red flags, I mean, you don't have to let them turn you completely off, but do notate them and see why you're feeling that way and see if there's some validity to them. But anyway, my thing was, okay, maybe he's getting nervous. It's not that big of a deal. We'll see how this goes. Well, we were going to meet on a Friday. He was going to come down early Friday, and he was going to stay the whole weekend, as I said. Um, and then we would have that opportunity to get together. But the Tuesday prior to the Friday of his coming down, he gave me a call and he said, there are some things that I need to talk to you about. Okay. I was like, okay. But my mind was going, oh no, what is this going to entail? Um, and he said, the date and time that's I'm coming is going to get closer and everything. And I just had a few questions for you because I'm not familiar with your state. So that makes sense. And so he said, the apartment building that you live in is, are you on the, first floor or, second, or, how high up does it go? That was, an okay question. So I said, I'm on the second floor, but it's no big deal. It's just, two small flights up, to go up. So he said, okay, cool. He said, now I have something that I would like to do first. He said, I'm going to send you some pictures of me, and then I'll give you a call right back. So I thought that was a bit strange, but I'm like, we've been video chatting. That's, what kind of pictures is it going to send? Because you already know I'm not doing the nudies, okay? Let's just get that up front. But anyway, um, so I said, sure, no problem. So he sent me some photos. And then he said, I'm going to call you right after you get these. So, I'm gonna call you right back. I said, okay. So he sent me some photos of him, and they were full body photos. So you could, like I said, right now when we were um um FaceTiming each other, we both were seated like I am right now. So you only get to see like the upper half of the body. Well, it turns out that this guy, and the reason he asked if I were what floor I was on, is because he was in a wheelchair. Now, before anyone says anything, like I did in my last video, that these kinds of things don't bother me, but we had talked for about 4 or 5 weeks, and we were doing the video, chatting so we could see each other, and that was the purpose for that. And so he had plenty of time to tell me that he was wheelchair bound. Then that would have given me the opportunity to let him know if I wanted to pursue that or not. But with him doing that 3 days before he was to come and saying, I have something to tell you, all of that should have been out of the way. I mean, I don't know, maybe the second or third week of talking on the phone. So, unfortunately, the place that I stayed at the time was not wheelchair accessible. The only way that you would have that is if you stayed on the first floor, of course, because they could have the ramps and that kind of thing. So then he asked, he said, would you have a way to, help me get up your 2 flights of stairs? I don't know what way I would have. It's, you know, I don't have a ramp, and I'm not going to be able to get a grown man. And he was pretty, he wasn't, he was like the shots that I had seen of him while we were on the phone, you could tell he does build his upper body. So he seemed to be a good fit shape with, that. So I was like, there's no way I'll be able to do that. We'll both wind up in a wheelchair if you're counting on me to get you up 2 flights of stairs. And then we would have to do that, I don't know. But my other thing was you weren't going to be seeing where I live anyway. So if you're going to be meeting at your own place, and I'm sure the hotel will have wheelchair accessibility, there wouldn't be a problem with any of that, right? So that's what I was thinking anyway. But as we got to talking, he was saying, "Well, we've been talking for a little over a month, and I was thinking that you were in this relationship. Okay, we don't have a relationship yet. Okay, we're trying to build one, but okay." Um, and he was like, and I was thinking that this was going to be it, and that I was going to ask if you would be willing to, move somewhere where it could be wheelchair accessible, or you could, come to where I'm at. Yeah, I would do all of that if I were in a long-term committed relationship with someone that I knew. But to ask that up front of someone that you, first of all, let's just be real, weren't honest with to begin with. Now, um, again, the problem wasn't, well, I should say, the problem wasn't really that he was in a wheelchair. It was the same thing that happened with that first date. They just are not honest. You're 73, not 53. You're in a wheelchair. You're showing me pictures of you sitting like I'm doing, so I get it. But you never mentioned that you had that going on. It's just, what are people thinking? Whatever lie you're telling, especially if it's a physical one, that person is going to have to meet you and they'll see it. So why not just be upfront and honest about that? I mean, I don't get it. And so the lesson that I took from that first one of doing the FaceTime and video chatting, This guy was one step ahead of me because he was doing all of that and never once divulged that he was wheelchair bound at all. So now I have to add new lessons. Not only do I video chat, but we have to do full body shots so you can see what I look like. I can see what you look like. I can see if you have a cane, if you're, able to get around on your own. And again, like I said, you'll be able to see that with me too, because I do not ask of others what I don't myself give. So if that were me, of course, I would have, divulged that sometime early in the relationship, probably first or second talk. I mean, I'm just say, hey, this is what's going on. I don't know if that makes a difference for you, but we may as well get that out up front. So as I've said before, I'm very straightforward. And it doesn't mean being mean or anything like that, but just being, friendly in a way that I say what my feelings are, what my thoughts or opinions are on something, and then I just let that be it. So we weren't, and I actually was still willing to meet with him, but I think I knew that the relationship would not be one and that I would not pursue it because I'm looking at that time I was looking for someone that can do physical things with me and we can do those things together. So that would have been important for me. And going into a relationship as starting the way he was saying just wasn't something that I was interested in. So, one first date, 20 years older. Second date, I learned that you're wheelchair bound. I don't even want to tell you what my third date was like. So, I am going to say this though. You're probably saying, well, I mean, I get it. There are things that people do and things that they omit or hide or don't say or don't confess at first. And I get that. But like I said, when it's major issues like that, I no, I don't get it. I don't get people trying to skirt the issue, hide the issue. She'll see when she sees the issue. Just doesn't compute with me. As the robot said, that does not compute. But this actually, I should tell you how I met my husband, which was the let me see how to say this. I did not date in high school and I did not date in college. But let me say this, it was because I really was focused on my studies and my education. So I was an AB student, made sure I had stayed on the honor roll, didn't miss classes and things like that. So for me, in my mind, I was thinking I'll have time for dating, later on down in life, which was true. You're 18, 19, 20, you've got plenty of time for all of that, especially if you're doing your education first. So I wound up, and this may tell you, oh, then it's not them, it's her. Um, the I don't even know how to say it, but I'll say that all of that in another video of how I met my husband, and I don't want to do a disaster marriage things, so I won't do that. But that story is a bit wild and crazy as well. And I get it. Life is a wild and crazy journey sometimes. But the lessons, again, this is life lessons learned. So I have always believed, even as a child, that I'm gonna say 99.9% of what occurs in our lives occurs because of some decision we either made or a decision we didn't make. So we can have consequences or rewards. So it doesn't mean that, we're bad people or anything like that. Sometimes just with our not knowing a thing or not being aware of something or not having yet experienced something, we may make a decision that doesn't benefit us. But as long as we're learning the lessons from that, and you know the saying, when you lose, don't lose the lesson, then that's fine. And again, with this situation, I did at least apply the lesson that I learned from that first date from hell. But again, this guy was one step ahead of me with that. So anyway, that's the story that I have to tell for right now. Um, Life really is a journey, and you'll hear through this YouTube channel of mine different experiences I've had with dating, with relationships, with friendships, coworkers, jobs, and things like that. But again, I've always learned lessons from all of those, and they were lessons well learned and well taught. Because I really believe you can live and learn, or you can just live. And some people, as you know, as we go throughout our day, a lot of people are just here living. That I never understood before, the saying, "There's no food like an old fool." So I'm like, don't people get wiser as they get older? The answer to that is no. I'm not talking about me, and I'm not talking about you viewers, but we all know people who just don't seem to learn, and they keep repeating the same things over and over and expecting different results. And that's okay. Everyone can live their own lives and everyone makes their own choices. This is just kind of a way for me to share with others some potholes they can avoid stepping in. That's all for this video. Thank you. I'll see you on the next one.